Alrighty, today I'm going to show you how to change the oil in my 2014 Nissan Altima. I had a customer, not a customer, I just simply had someone asking me some questions on how to change the oil, where the drain plug was and such. So I figured, yeah, I could probably just tell him where it is, but then at the same time, I probably should change the oil in my car and then be able to show this person how everything works. So last time I used 3.5 quarts of this CVT transmission fluid from Valvoline. I believe I mentioned in the previous video, the reason I chose Valvoline was because it didn't void warranties. So I figured if you're not going to be voiding warranties, then it's clearly good enough for the transmission. And you're not spending the $28 a quart for the Nissan brand. Just thought I would mention too, if you did not have a dipstick, you could always use a measuring cup. Yes, it does take a little bit longer, but if you did not have a dipstick and you didn't want to make a dipstick, you can always measure how much oil comes out and put exactly that much back in. You use this dish here, fill it up and dump it out as many times as it takes until it's empty. You clean it out, and then you start filling it back up and remeasuring, and you pour it right back down the tube that we described in a later video. And that would be this port right here. When you first, if you've never taken this thing off before, this thing is likely locked. This tab right here, I'm sorry that it's not very clear. This tab right here will be locked onto this metal tab. So you'll have to use a screwdriver and pry that open for this whole thing to slide off. So you might ask me, how often do you change your oil in your Nissan? I personally would like to see at least every 30,000. The dealership gave me a number of 100,000, which is stupid. Who does that? Your oil cannot last that long. So I like to see at least 30,000. I did my first oil change, I believe, around, I think it was 20,000 miles. And because I typically like to do full flushes on my transmission, it's what I've done with all my transmissions, but this is a CVT, so it's going to be a little bit different. What I do, instead of doing a full flush, I do about every 10,000 miles, I take out about 3.5 quarts of oil, which is all that drains out. That's all I've ever gotten out on a level ground. 3.5 quarts will come out, and then I obviously refill 3.5 quarts. Now, if you're changing more frequently, it will, quote unquote, take place of a full flush. I am not completely familiar with CVT transmissions, so if you're not familiar with the CVT transmission and doing full flushes, I believe some people have done it on later models. Mine is a little bit newer, so I'm taking the safe route and simply changing a little more frequent, which over time there just will always be a little bit of fresh oil in there. So if you're doing this like every 10,000 miles, by the time you get to 100,000 miles, you'll essentially have almost fresh oil, and without ever really wearing out the oil that you have in there. This is just my suggestion. Obviously, if you want or need more professional advice, go to the Nissan dealer. They're going to give you whatever advice they suggest. This is my own personal experience that I'm doing this on. So let's get some tools out and see if we can get this thing figured out. It is always good to take your vehicle for a short ride for the purpose of warming up the oil. It will drain out much faster and it will drain out better. This is also suggested for doing your engine oil. You're going to want to drive your vehicle for about 5 to 10 minutes. That should warm it up enough so that it's at least not freezing cold. When your oil is freezing cold, it's super thick and it's very difficult to get it all drained out, versus when it's warm, it drains out quickly, like I said before. I've got this thing up on its stilts here, so we're going to crawl under there and show you where the plug's going to be. So as you can see here, you've got your exhaust, your bell housing, and this is going to be your pan for your transmission. This is obviously going to be the plug for it. And if you look right up in here, see if I can focus in on it. There it is. If I can stick my finger there. Right at the tip of my finger is the tube. That's kind of your indication, obviously, that this is, okay, you can see it a little better now. That's the tube that goes into this, flows into the pan. So, let's pull that thing out and drain the fluid. Sorry the video is not that great. I gotta do all this stuff with my phone. So you can see the oil there is super clear still. It's got a slight green hue to it, and that's actually super, super good. If this stuff is black, obviously that's bad. That's you're letting it go too long. That's not all the indications. You can actually have this oil sent in to see how good it is by an oil lab. I have never done that. But if it is still green, that is super, super good still. I've only drained this out once, and I've probably only driven about 15,000 miles on this oil that's draining out right now. And it still has that green color to it. The original fluid is also green. The Valvoline stuff that I'm going to be putting in this is also green. So, and the oil is just slightly warm. So, and I only drove for about 5 minutes. Put that plug back in there. Okay. Grab my tool. Alright, so there's all the oil. I'm going to actually measure this just because I'm curious. Alright, so I'm going to pour the oil into the glass jar here, and we'll start measuring it. So this thing only measures in about half quarts. This might take a couple tries, so I'm just going to do this as many times as it takes and drain it out into my bucket here and see what we get. Alright, so this is the final result. Obviously I still have a little bit of oil that's just all along the side of the walls. I overfilled this just a smidgen a couple of times, so all in all, it's essentially still 3.5 quarts. That's what I have gotten out of this. So that is what you're going to be putting back in. Alright, so let's pull that plug out and see what we can find here. I have not pulled this out since the last video. Alright, so as you can see, same stick, and I will still use this to measure just for, you know, confidence sake. So I just thought I'd mention this had a little bit of dirt on it. Always make sure that you wipe that dirt off, because if that gets inside, it would be better if you had never touched this to begin with. That's how bad it is for your transmission. Imagine sandpaper to every single piece in there. That's exactly what happens. Make sure you wipe off all dirt. Also, make sure you clean out your funnels. No dust, no dirt. If use gasoline, starting fluid, anything that will get this thing perfectly clean. If you can get a rag down in there like I did, do that. Well, that was the wrong size funnel. It's not going to fit, so I'm having to use another one. I cannot stress enough how important it is to clean your stuff. People, for instance, gasoline. If you leave the nozzle, like the lid, off of your gasoline jug, dust gets down in there. That stuff goes into your injectors, and oh no, I got problems with my fuel injection. Oh, I wonder how did that happen? Dirt. Problems happen when you don't clean stuff. So if you're going to do this yourself, at least be clean about it. Oil time. This one's half full from last one, so I'll kind of use that for this one, and I'll grab 3 more. And let's get started. Put in my half. Number 1. Number 2. And number 3. Alrighty, so that's finished. Now I'm just going to use the dipstick, though I really don't need to. I've already measured. But hey, you know what? I made it. I'm gonna use it. It's a good idea to let the oil settle down in there. Otherwise, it's gonna be difficult to get a reading because it'll be dragging. You'll have oil all over your stick, and it'll be difficult to find out, you know, what the level really is. Okay, so it's a good thing I do have a measuring stick. Obviously, I don't have just quite enough oil in there. If you can see this, if I can try to get a glare on this. Alright, so you can see where there's fluid and where there's not fluid, and that fluid level is not up to the mark that I made, you know, right there. So I guess I'm going to have to put a little bit more fluid in there until that's up to the mark. I thought I mentioned something too. That I was trying to think, you know, why is it that I'm so low? I put, you know, 3.5 in there. Well, I looked at my my other bottle, and it was actually a little bit lower than half. So that is why I am low. So I'll just grab another one and top it off. Okay, so I've only added about an ounce or 2 more, and I found the level that I need. So there you have it. That's your oil change. I hope this has been helpful to you guys. If it has, give me a thumbs up and comment below. Thank you.